SEDUM LUCIDUM OBESUM. Obesum means fat. This is my little fat ones. This has got to be one of my favorite succulents because they are very easy to grow. Amongst the flower we can't find or we can't see them. So let's take a closer look. Hello there, my name is Liz, a self-confessed succulent addict. Welcome to my channel, Growing Succulents. So SEDUM LUCIDUM OBESUM is a very easy plant to grow. You can grow it in a pot like this, like what I did here. And this only started with 3 plants. But a couple of years later, maybe close to 2.5 years, or it's moving further, almost 3 years. But look how many there is. So this is quite a lot of plants. So if I were to harvest them and propagate them, then we can see better what's inside, and we're giving more way for the little ones to grow out. Right now it's still spring here in Australia, so we still have another month to go before the end of spring. So not another month, maybe 3 weeks. And looking forward to summer, because in summer, best time for them to show off a little bit. So this plant turns into this cherry red. Can you see that? All of that from the tip of this plant here, they go cherry red like those ones that you see in the corner here. But right now, because they're being covered by their flowers, they are not coloring up as nicely as they can. And look, there's a bee came to grace us with his presence. Hello, Mr. Bee. You can cross-pollinate all of them. So anyway, this is very easily grown. You can grow it in the pot or in a big pot, or you can grow it in a small pot like this one I've got tucked in the corner, hiding in there. So it's not really enjoying the full benefit of the sun. You can also grow it in the garden happily like this ones here, but depending on the soil that you have in your garden, they're not going to grow as red as they would in a pot. But nevertheless, they are still as fat as ever. Look at that, isn't that gorgeous? And I like the fact that they have these facets on them. Can you see those facets there? It's just such a beautiful, beautiful fat plant. So nice to hold. And they can also take the frost. So far, the coldest the SEDUM LUCIDUM OBESUM has taken or has experienced in my garden out here is -7. So I don't know how cold they can, what sort of coldness they can handle, but so far they have survived marvelously. So in here I only put a couple of plants in here, and look how much there is now. So it's really time to propagate them. So propagating is just a matter of cutting them. So say for example that one there now, I could just easily cut that and take the flower stalk. Hang on. So remove the flower and then stick it in the soil. As easy as that. Even this one here in the garden now, I can actually stick it somewhere if I can find an empty spot. Like in here, maybe I can insert that there, but hang on, I need a little digger, but that will do. We'll just cover the soil a little bit, and if I remove that weed there, that would be even much better or good. Hang on, I need my little weed puller. These are SEDUM LUCIDUM OBESUM that I propagated a long time ago. So I propagated them. I'm just trying to say, they were actually labeled goblin. So they change all the name. They call it goblin, they call it SEDUM OBESUM. But that's what makes it so confusing. But they are one and the same plant. So this SEDUM goblin are the first ones that I had, and this I've grown them from leaves. And you can see this is probably now almost 3 years since I propagated them from leaves. And out of this whole tray here, only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 has taken on. The rest of them sort of died. Anyway, and I was still a bit precious with them. That's why I grew them under there. Well, they love the sun, so you have to expose them to the sun. But then now that they have grown, look at that, they're still going red. Now, it's not advisable to grow it from a leaf because they take ages to grow, especially if you pluck them at the end of spring, because in summertime they go dormant. They're going to sleep through summer and not grow at all until the weather cools down sometime in the middle of autumn. So when it gets cold is the best time to propagate them. So these ones, I'm not even going to touch them. I'm going to let them finish flowering, and when they finish flowering, that's an indication for me that they're ready asleep. So once the temperature cools down, that's when I'll start cutting them off and propagating them. And in talking about propagating, the soil mix that they prefer is a rich compost or compost-rich soil. They don't, well, something like my intermediate soil mix is what they prefer. So this is planted in my intermediate soil mix, and if you chose to leave them peat moss. So this one here, I bought this one as is. So I haven't changed the soil. I bought this from IKEA a couple of years ago, and I left it in its pot, so maybe about almost 18 months, and I left it in the same pot. I bought 3 of them, and they all died. This is the only one that survived, and being out here, it doesn't like the peat moss unless you pump them up with liquid fertilizer all the time. So this one's has been growing in here, and she's not very happy at all. So you have to change the soil when you do get them, or else they're not going to grow on you. And this one here is another one that I planted in my master succulent soil mix together with the SEDUM clavatum and the prolifica, and it's also flowering and it's growing happily. And this one's growing leggy because there's not enough room for it to grow with all these thick plants. So they're a shrubby plant which tends to go high, but once you say cut it off to say halfway here, then I can have a shorter plant and maybe cut a 1, a 2. It's much better doing that than growing it from a leaf and sticking it in the ground. So do that in autumn, and you will be rewarded with lots and lots of SEDUM obesum. SEDUM lucidum obesum, a plant worth having in your collection. Aren't they gorgeous? They're so fat and hard like stone. They're hard. Have you got a heart of stone? Heart of stone. She's singing again. Anyway, guys, that's all for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. I'm almost tempted to just chop, 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 but I'm not. I'm gonna wait till autumn comes.